Welcome to the DGD podcast. As always, the NCDGD himself, Robert Reynolds. Boy, oh boy, does it feel good to be on top. And that's where Georgia is number one in the AP poll. Listen, AP polls don't mean shit, but I always take a number one, dogs on top. So I'm going to say. But there's a lot to talk about, folks. A lot. And I'm going to get started with it this way, right? Let's go ahead and focus outside of Georgia because there was a lot to take in. Listen, Alabama, just, I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. But nonetheless, they looked terrible against Texas. They looked terrible. Um, and if it wasn't for Bryce Young, right, making a miraculous play, like we could be looking at a one-loss Bama team already, and probably should have. But nonetheless, 20-19 at Texas. Listen, I'm just saying, folks, that team right now, I know it's through 2 weeks, but that team just doesn't scare me. It just doesn't, and I don't really know what else to say. I really don't. Um, just not a good-looking football team. It's simple as that. Just not really concerning me, if you will. Um, Boy, oh boy, though. What a weekend of college football. Nonetheless, you also had Notre Dame falling. Right? Notre Dame 0-2. Marcus Freeman looking like ass as a head coach so far. You lose to Marshall, right? Listen, we went on here Wednesday, folks. Went on here Wednesday and just expected them to blow Marshall out. And then it turns out that was absolutely not the case. Don't know what the hell's going on, but nonetheless, something's up with Marshall is all I'm going to say because, or maybe it's the Sun Belt, right? Just the Sun Belt is one of those things. Yeah, so Notre Dame, ass cheeks. That's all I'm going to say. Also, and get ready for this, folks. Get ready for this because buckle up. It's already time for a Reynolds rant. That's all I'm going to say. It's time for a Reynolds rant. Oh, Jimbo. Sucks to suck, don't it? Don't expect to bring on any AMM folks in here anytime soon. Yeah, your offense. Don't words can't describe it. I'm going to give a shout out to Josh Pate because he described Texas A&M's offense about as good as you're ever going to hear it. Comparing it to spoiled milk, excuse me. Spoiled milk that expired in 2014 cannot be any more accurate than that. That's all I'm going to say. So shout out to Josh Pate for that, by the way. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than it's fun to watch A&M suffer. Called this for a couple of weeks now that there's a very good chance that App State could go into Kyle Field and upset them. And it happened, folks. It happened. It wasn't even close for that matter. Surprisingly, just wasn't close. Outside of a 95-yard kickoff return by HA, it was they only scored 7 offensive points. So, hey, Jimbo, evolve or get the fuck out of college football. Just going to have to let you know that. You had some harsh words there. Anyways, yeah, enough rant here for that matter. For some reason, I can't see the brigade today. I don't know what is going on here. So I'll try to work to get that squared away. I don't really know what's going on. I really don't. But nonetheless, I think you have to look at, right, we're going to go ahead and transfer over to Georgia now. Let's just do that, right? Transferring over to Georgia. I think you have to take into context what the game looked like because it wasn't pretty, folks. It was not pretty, by the way. Outside of that, if you had to tell me, listen, there were some good takeaways, right? There's some good takeaways. That's all I'm going to say. However, There was a lot to be left on the field, right? It was not pretty. That's all I'm going to say. Um, my honest opinion on it, right? First half sloppy, offensively. Listen, you pitched a shutout, right? You pitched a shutout, 33 nothing. So, like I said, you showed you can your defense, I say, did their thing. Right? They did their thing. So I'm going to say. Outside of that, offensively, there was a lot of points left on the table, man. You look at Stetson in the first half alone, right? Overthrowing Darnell, overthrowing. How can I explain it? You Bowers, right? Bowers dropping catches, like just uncharacteristic for Georgia, and especially to our standards, right? Um, so you taking into context what it's worth, it's just one of those things to me where looking forward to South Carolina, I think you'll see this team come in, Kirby Smart be hot, right, after that performance. There's no question about it. Another thing that kind of confused me was, and even upset me, I get it, but I don't. 12-minute fourth quarter was just weird to me. I didn't like that. I get it, but at the same time, like, I feel bad for people that went to the game, like were actually there, because you pay the price of a regular game, but it was not pretty, and even then you lose some time, 12-minute fourth quarter instead of 15. So that's just a high level. We're gonna break it. We're gonna break it down a little bit here, but first we want to make an announcement here. So over the weekend, actually like late Friday ish, we brought on a new sponsor. So we are now sponsored by BetUS, right? BetUS, and you'll see overall, right? Deals with our picks, right? We've been doing our week picks. So with that being said, right, they've come on and they've sponsored us and everything. So you're going to see now is a little bit different here on Wednesday shows. We're going to implement the spread numbers, right, based off of what BetUS is showing, and from there, we're going to take. Now, it's not going to change our picks per se, right? What you see from the viewers, the graphic, right? But we're going to be a little bit more detailed here. So, for instance, right, if we got Georgia, South Carolina, you're going to catch, you'll catch our pick'em, right? It's our straight pick'em. It's not going to change from the, the weekly picks, but we're going to throw in our little more detailed. Kobe, and then obviously the poll on Twitter. It's not going to change. That won't. We'll just add our little flair in there with the spread and talk a little bit about that. So nothing too big to change. However, at the same time, it will be something new. So we'll also be throwing in our DGD guarantee pick of the week. So keep that in mind. Play of the weeks. One person or one of us will do one pick that we felt like will be a guaranteed lock. Now, we will use the spread for that, or even money line for that matter. So if you're new to sports betting, right, we'll work with you here. But those that are seasoned in sports betting, I think this might be right up your alley, folks. Just going to leave that there. So I definitely want to take a shout out to BetUS for being the new sponsor, and also Alumni Hall. Can't forget about Alumni Hall, folks. 10 minutes away from campus in Athens, right? And you also have the online store, licensed Nike gear, a la what you're seeing here, right? Polos, shirts, everything like that. Nike, Cutter and Buck, Columbia, you name it, they've got it. It's all licensed. Alumni Hall or alumnihall.com. Go check them out. Tell them that DGD sent you. But with that being said, I want to talk a little bit more about, what we saw defensively, right? And with that being said, how do we react to that, right? How do we react to that? Offensively, it was sluggish. There's no getting around it. It's sluggish, right? Just point blank, period, sluggish. So, there's a lot, right? Like I've said before, a lot to take away, right? But you also look at some positives. So I got to bring out some positives. There is something to take away from Stetson again. 300-yard passing. What did not feel like 300 yards passing. Just going to leave that there. With that being said, right, spread the ball around too. I want to say there was a ton of receivers getting love here. It's just that simple. Just that simple. Taking into context the Dylan Bells, the Colt, everybody, right? Everybody got some love, period, right? You also had Kenny McIntosh as well, which, listen, Kenny McIntosh, it won't surprise me to see my man break a ton of records here from a receiving standpoint out of the running back, out of the backfield. Kid is killing it so far, obviously through 2 weeks. I'm just saying I'm excited for it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm super excited for it. And listen, we were able to run the ball, right? We finally got to see our run game and what it could look like. And it didn't necessarily disappoint either. Kendall Milton, leading rusher, right? I was excited to see him do that right there. And listen, even then, I think there's more to be made from what our running back room could look like, right? It could. Listen, it was offensively, we had a lot of field goals where it should have been touchdowns, right? And like I said, that kind of attributes to Stetson, missing on a couple throws and dropping passes and stuff like that. Dylan Bell had a drop pass. Brock Bowers dropped a pass. Darnell got overthrown a little bit, right? Like, that's 3 touchdowns, I think, in the first half alone. That could have made this game a lot more different. But like I said, you take away this game right here. Listen, this game is one that you're going to be more critiquing on than anything because of, the lesser opponent, things like that, right? Like, you want to go out and dominate, right? Obviously, we did enough to go out and be number 1 in the country, but at the same time, like, we didn't look like a number 1 team Saturday, excuse me. And like I said, there's always room to work in, right? You can definitely make changes and do these things, right? And that's what you need to do. You have to do that. And I think if I'm predicting this the right way, Kirby's going to have this team. He's going to take back Saturday. He's going to show this team what complacency looks like. Because it felt like they were running through the motions to a tune of 33-0 shutout. Offensively, I think there was some complacency that you could kind of fish out, if you really will. Defensively, I called this. You have Michael Williams getting his first sack, right? Almost had 2 for the matter, but if you go back to it, right, that almost sack, right, that would have been sack, turned into Dan Jackson forcing a fumble and us recovering on their first possession, if I'm not mistaken. So the defense came to play. They came out, turnovers, right, sacks. I think you wish you could see more, right, like havoc, right, sack rates, things like that. Listen, Pop Johnson, was getting there. It was hurrying the quarterback, right? There was, you had the one tackle that he had where he just lit up the quarterback right as he let go, causing the overthrow, right? Those kind of plays right there. You look at your defense and in time as these guys get more experience, I think you start to see those plays become sacks and really more havoc plays. But wasn't a lack of pressure or anything like that. Jalen Carter had an excellent day. It's something like although there wasn't really any sacks, you're starting to see teams game plan against our pressure. I think that's what we're seeing through 2 games. A lot of short passes, right? You're not seeing a lot of slow developing plays offensively against our defense. You're starting to see more teams trying to spread us out horizontally. You had Smile Monded making a lot of plays, and I think moving forward, we're probably going to see that. It's going to be interesting to see how other teams around the country on our schedule play us. I expect us to sit there and see those, right? I expect to see situations where we're going to be, playing up small, trying to spread us horizontally, try to wear our defense out, right? Test to death, if you will. There's just too much speed for that to work efficiently, at least through 2 weeks. But what, the key here for Georgia fans, right? We saw this defense do what it's doing. This is still a young defense, folks. It really is a young defense that's only going to get better. It will only get better and more experience, right? As you see Small Monday getting better, you start to see Chris Smith leading the defense in the secondary, right? Keely Ringo. I don't think we've seen him really get tested much at all. Javon Bullard had a good day yesterday. Our defense played extremely well. Now, at the same time, listen, this is no slouch to Samford. Samford went into the swamp last season and dropped 500 plus. So you can't take them lightly, is where I'm going with this. You can't. So we did what we were supposed to do. Number one teams dominate. If it's a lesser opponent, you dominate. All right, we dominated Oregon. We dominated here. Even in our sloppiest game so far in a while, you still shut out an opponent. I'll take that. Like I said, there's a lot to take away. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where coming into South Carolina, you're probably going to get a pissed off Georgia, and that's not what you want if you're South Carolina and Shane Beamer. It's just, in my opinion, that's not what you want at all. Listen, I think overall the offense, though, room for improvement. Easily, room for improvement. Become more efficient, and things will change, is all I'm going to say there. We're going to take a quick break, and after that break, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about this preview. So stick around, and we shall return soon.